24 words. That's all it took. 24 words posted on Twitter, now called X, and suddenly Nigerian secret police are writing to Elon Musk company demanding content to be taken down. The government is filing criminal charges, and one activist is facing up to 7 years in prison for calling the president a criminal. This isn't happening in some distant authoritarian state. This is happening right now in Nigeria in 2025. And the question everyone is asking is simple. Can you go to jail for criticizing the president on social media? Welcome to the story of Omoyele Sowore, the Department of State Service, and the tweet that has put Nigerian democracy on trial. Let's start at the beginning. August 25, 2025, 11:38 p.m. Omoyele Sowore, activist, journalist, publisher of Sowore Reporters, and former presidential candidate, opened his X app and typed out a message directed at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's official account. The tweet read, "This criminal at official BAT actually went to Brazil to state that there is no more corruption under his regime in Nigeria. What audacity to lie shamelessly." Now, if you know anything about Sowore, this wasn't unusual. The man has built his entire career on speaking truth to power. He's investigated corruption, he's exposed scandals, he's been arrested multiple times, he's been detained illegally, he spent 124 days in DSS custody back in 2019 for calling for a revolution. So, a strongly worded tweet about corruption. For Sowore, this was just another Monday. But this time, the response from the Nigerian government would be unprecedented. This time, they weren't just coming for Sowore, they were coming for the platforms that gave him a voice. 12 days later, on September 26, 2025, a letter was sent from Bastrop County, Texas, where the DSS has operations. The recipient, S Corporations, the company owned by Elon Musk. The letter, signed by B. Bamigboye on behalf of the DSS Director General, was direct and menacing. It accused Sowore of posting a disparaging and ridiculous tweet that was capable of creating political tension and threatening Nigeria's national security. But here is where it gets interesting. The DSS didn't just ask X to remove the tweet. They gave the platform a 24-hour ultimatum: take it down or face consequences. The letter cited multiple Nigerian laws that Sowore allegedly violated. Section 51 of the Criminal Code Acts, Section 19, 22, and 24 of the Cyber Crimes Act 2025, and provisions of the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act of 2022. Yes, you heard that right. They invoked anti-terrorism laws over a tweet calling the president a criminal. The DSS argued that both Sowore as the author and X as a platform could be held liable for the content. They warned of far-reaching consequences if the demands weren't met. So what did X do? Did Elon Musk's platform cave to the pressure from a foreign government? Not exactly. According to notices shared by Sowore himself, X confirmed that they had received the legal request from the DSS concerning the post, but in line with their policy of defending user voices, they clarified that no action had been taken on the reported content. The tweets remained live, Sowore's account remained active, and the DSS had a problem. When the 24-hour ultimatum expired and X refused to comply, the DSS didn't back down. Instead, they escalated dramatically. On September 16, 2025, the Department of State Services, acting through the Federal Ministry of Justice, filed a 5-count criminal charge at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The case number FHC/ABJ/CRO/484/2025. The defendants, Omoyele Sowore, X Corp, and Meta Platforms Incorporated, the parent company of Facebook. That's right, the Nigerian government was charging Twitter and Facebook as criminal accomplices for hosting Sowore's post. The charges were filed by MB Abubakar, Director of Public Prosecution at the Federal Ministry of Justice, along with other counsel including MENS, UB Bula, CS Eze, and EG Orubo. So what exactly is Sowore being charged with? Let's break it down. According to the charge sheet, Sowore allegedly made posts on August 25 and 26, 2025, describing President Tinubu as a criminal and accusing him of lying about corruption in Nigeria during his official trip to Brazil. The DSS claims Sowore knew that these allegations were false but published them anyway with the intent to cause public fear, disturb public peace, and damage the president's reputation. Count 1 accuses Sowore of sending messages he knew to be false for the purpose of causing a breakdown of law and order in the country, violating Section 24 subsection 1b of the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention and Amendment Act of 2024. Count 2 alleges he transmitted grossly offensive and menacing messages through a computer system, contrary to Section 24 subsection 1a of the same Cybercrime Act. Count 3 charges him with intentionally disseminating false information to cause public fear, violating the Criminal Code Act. Count 4 accuses him of making disparaging statements with the intent to cause ethnic and sectional ill will, and Count 5 alleges he deliberately published false information on both X and Facebook intended to cause public fear and disturbance, specifically targeting President Tinubu's reputation. If convicted on all counts, Sowore could face up to 7 years in prison. But Omoyele Sowore is not a man who backs down easily. On the same day the DSS filed their charges, September 16, 2025, Sowore filed his own lawsuit. He sued the DSS, Meta and Escort at the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging what he described as unconstitutional censorship of his social media accounts. In his suit, Sowore argued that the DSS has no legal power to censor Nigerian citizens or to force social media platforms to delete content without a court order. He asked the court to stop the platform from complying with any DSS demands to delete his tweets, calling Tinubu a criminal. His response to being charged, defiant as always. In a post on X, he simply wrote, "I will be there." The case did just catch the attention of Nigerians. International human rights organizations immediately raised the alarm. Amnesty International issued a strong condemnation, describing the DSS actions as a brazen attempt to silence dissenting voices. They warned that the move threatens human rights and undermines freedom of expression in Nigeria. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, also spoke out, cautioning that this would lead to a replay of Buhari's Twitter ban. You remember that in June 2021. The Buhari administration suspended Twitter operations in Nigeria for 222 days after the platform deleted one of the president's tweets. Civil society activists, lawyers, and digital rights advocates have all expressed concern that this case sets a dangerous precedent. If the government can bypass the courts and demand that social media platforms remove content by simply writing letters, what does that mean for free speech in Nigeria? Legal experts have raised several critical questions about this case. First, does the DSS have the authority to unilaterally demand content removal from social media platforms without a court order? Nigerian law does not explicitly grant them this power. The proper process should involve going to court, proving that content is illegal, and obtaining a judicial order for removal. Second, can social media platforms be held criminally liable for user-generated content? International legal standards generally protect platforms from being held responsible for what their users post, as long as they respond appropriately to valid legal requests. Third, and most importantly, does calling a president a criminal constitute a crime in a democracy? In most democratic societies, political speech enjoys the highest level of protection, even when it's harsh, offensive, or accusatory. One legal opinion published by the Nigerian lawyer argued, if the DSS thinks Sowore's tweet is illegal, the proper course is to prove it in court. Sending a letter to X is a shortcut that sets up a parallel system of censorship. To understand why this case is so explosive, you need to understand the context in which it's happening. Nigeria in 2025 is facing unprecedented economic hardship. Inflation is crushing ordinary citizens. The removal of fuel subsidies have caused several pain at the pump and in people's pocket. The naira has been devalued multiple times. Unemployment remains stubbornly high. Insecurity continues to plague multiple regions of the country. In this environment, questions about corruption aren't academic debates. They are a matter of survival for millions of Nigerians who want to know why things aren't getting better despite promises of reform. When President Tinubu traveled to Brazil and reportedly stated that there was no more corruption under his regime, many Nigerians reacted with skepticism. Sowore's tweets simply echoed what countless Nigerians were thinking and saying in their homes, markets, and on social media. The question is, should echoing public sentiment be a crime? This isn't Sowore's first riddle with the Nigerian security apparatus. In fact, some would say he's been preparing for this his entire adult life. Sowore founded Sowore Reporters in 2026 as an online news platform dedicated to investigative journalism and exposing corruption in Nigeria. The platform has published countless exposés on government officials from local councillors to presidents. In August 2019, Sowore was arrested by the DSS for calling for a revolutionary protest against bad governance. Despite two separate court orders granting him bail, he was held in detention for 124 days. His release only came after massive international pressure and public outcry. He ran for president in both 2019 and 2023 under the banner of the African Action Congress, campaigning on anti-corruption and social justice platform. Throughout his career, Sowore has been arrested, detained, tear-gassed, and intimidated, but he never stopped speaking out. And that's exactly why this latest case matters so much. It's not just about one tweet, it's about whether Nigeria will tolerate persistent, uncompromising criticisms of those in power. As of today, September 29, 2025, both cases, the DSS prosecution and Sowore's lawsuit, are pending before the Federal High Court in Abuja. The legal proceedings are expected to be closely watched not just by Nigerians but by international observers, human rights organizations, and tech companies operating in Africa. The outcome will have far-reaching implications. If the government succeeds in prosecuting Sowore, it sends a chilling message to every Nigerian. It would effectively make political speech a criminal offense. If Sowore prevails, it will be a victory for free speech and will establish important legal precedents about the limits of government power to censor online content. For X and Meta, this case is a test of their stated commitment to defending user voices against government censorship. Will they fight for their Nigerian users, or will they eventually comply with government pressure? So here we are, a tweet calling the president a criminal has turned into a full-blown constitutional crisis. An activist faces 7 years in prison for expressing an opinion, and two of the world's largest social media companies are being charged as criminals in a Nigerian court. This case is about more than Omoyele Sowore, is about more than one tweet. It's about the fundamental question at the heart of any democracy. Do citizens have the right to criticize their government without fear of prosecution? In functioning democracies around the world, the answer is a resounding yes. Political speech, even harsh and accusatory political speech, is protected because democracy cannot survive without it. Leaders must be held accountable, citizens must be free to criticize, to question, and to demand answers. But in Nigeria today, the principle is being tested, and the outcome of the test will tell us a lot about the state of Nigeria's democracy in 2025. Will Nigeria choose the path of openness, where criticism is tolerated and debate is encouraged, or will it choose the path of repression, where dissent is criminalized and free speech is suffocated? The next few weeks and months will give us the answer. The courts will rule, the judgment will decide whether to pursue this prosecution, and Nigerians will watch very carefully to see what kind of country they are living in. One thing is certain, Omoyele Sowore isn't backing down, as he said himself when he learnt about the charges. I will be there. The question is, will Nigerian democracy be there too? This has been the story of the Sowore DSS and Twitter debacle. If you found this documentary informative, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. Share this video with anyone who cares about free speech and democracy in Nigeria, and let us know in the comments, do you think Sowore should face criminal charges for his tweets, or is this an attack on freedom of expression? Remember, in a democracy, the government works for you, not the other way around, and you have every right to hold them accountable. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop asking questions. See you soon.